childhood memory. Oh, you're recording?
Uh-huh.
Sorry. So I'm like laughing and singing to myself. Okay, we're gonna get through this. So, well, first, hello, everyone out there in the internets. My name is Fulei Ngangmuta Passley, and I am the founder and creator of Black Girls Are. So, what is Black Girls Are? Simply put, it is an affirmation initiative for Black women of all ages, I should say for Black girls of all ages, to just feel affirmed in who they are and whose they are. So, the reason why I started Black Girls Are, honestly, is because I felt that there was a void. So I wanted to do something to change the narrative, to switch it up, to create spaces where Black women not only felt safe, but understood that you desire and you deserve to be affirmed in who you are, in the fullness of who you are. There's nothing wrong with you being Black. If anything, it is something that God has created. It is needed, it is wanted. Maybe not by majority culture, fine. But the thing is that He wants it. And that it is not a mistake. So this is what honestly birthed Black Girls Are. I started actually Googling, gotta love Google. Just the hashtag. I started Googling Black Girls Are. And I promise you the things that came up were, one, barely anything, which just showed there's a void. And two, the very first thing that came up wasn't actually positive per se, but funny enough, when you look at the website, it's actually a website on like relationships. But I didn't want that to be what people remembered us as. I wanted more. I wanted to be able to walk in the footsteps of people that have gone before us, like Maya Angelou, lover, of queens that there have been even over and after, like Queen Nzinga. I wanted to be able to portray the Fannie Lou Hamers, the Mother Teal. I wanted to be able to portray even the 3 Black women who started Black Lives Matter. I wanted us to be seen, but I wanted us more so just to be seen, to be affirmed. And I wanted a community and a movement to be started, because I think in the end, my heart and my desire is that I want Black women to be healed. So that's kind of my heart behind why I started Black Girls Are. I came up with the word enough just as I was writing down affirmations. I came up with like 12 different affirmations, and enough was one of them. But the reason it ended up becoming the first word is because one day, as I was, trying to figure out the configuration of how I wanted the words to go, I remember God ended up telling me to put enough first. And I was kind of like, why? What's the purpose? I'm like, because I have some amazing words that I want to use. But he was like, no, use enough. And so, and he said, the reason why I want you to use enough is because I can tell you, just like I can tell any other Black woman out here, all these amazing things about yourself. I could affirm you in all these different ways and say that you're wonderful, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. Choose your affirmation. He said, but the thing is that you'll never accept, or you'll never really take heed to any of those affirmations if you do not first and foremost know that you're enough. You're enough because I say so. You're enough because you are. Not because of your talents, your gifts, not because of how pretty you are, how thick your thighs are, how big your lips are, how long your hair is, how curly it is, how natural it is, how whatever. Not because of your accomplishments, your achievements, or anything like that. You are enough just because you are. You being a human being is what makes you enough. And I need you to get this first. Because if you do not get this first, everything else you cannot build on. Enough is the foundation. And so it took me aback, honestly, when I first thought about it. But as I started to, just really ponder, think about this process through it, it just made that much more sense to have enough be the very first word, because I can't tell you how many women I've talked to, how many podcasts I've listened to, how many books I've read, how many articles I've read, how many videos I've watched, or YouTubers or anything. And the one consensus I get consistently when it comes down to especially Black women is that a lot of times we don't feel enough. And it actually came at the hands of my father. So please understand, I'm Cameroonian American, and my dad is very typical West African man. Enough said. So around 7 years old, my mom, I think it was like around 6 years old, my mother was diagnosed with sarcoma. And so she ended up having to get chemo treatments and the whole nine. My dad lived overseas in Ethiopia with my two little brothers. I'm one of four, I'm the youngest, and I have three little brothers. So he ended up coming over here to see my mom and I and to be with us while she was going through her chemo treatments, like her initial chemo treatments. And there was just something about it, like I loved having both of my parents together. You know, that like little 7-year-old girl, that little girl just kind of like longed to have her parents together. And I was just so happy, like all the time, because he was here. And so she was here as well too, though she was sick, you know, she was here. And so it was just cool having both of them. But I remember the day that my dad was leaving. He was in Dulles International Airport, because I grew up in like Silver Spring, Maryland. And he was getting ready to fly out to go back to Ethiopia where my brothers were, because he was based over there and lived there. And I remember like being really, really scared to ask my dad this question. You know, I felt like I was being really, really vulnerable because I felt like I was about to share my heart, you know? And I asked my dad right at the gate before he was about to like board the plane, because, you know, back then you could go to the gates. And I remember him kneeling down and I asked him, I was like, hey Dad, could you stay? I don't think he kneeled down. I think he was standing up, anyway. And I just asked him, I was like, but could you stay? You know, could you not leave? And without any empathy, without a second thought, and with like, just very straight-laced, my dad was like, no, I have to go. And that was that. And I remember feeling some kind of way, like, wow, I'm not enough, like I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough to have you stay with me, like to stay with us, like I miss you, like I want you. That moment did something to me. It did something to me to a point where it made me feel as though, it made me feel inadequate, it made me feel alone. And I knew at a very early age, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to learn how to navigate this world alone. You know, I'm gonna have to learn how to do this thing on my own, because my dad isn't even willing to stay because of what's happened, you know, of like what's going on here. So that was like my earliest memory of like not feeling enough. And from them, I've had multiple memories over and over and over again of the same thing. And it's just sad, because it's like a cancer. It truly is like a cancer, like what my mother went through. It eats away at you to the point where you find yourself in a position where it's like you don't even know almost like who you are in that type of way. But that would probably be my earliest memory of not feeling enough. I would not say I have overcome or I have arrived by any means. I think it would be a lie for anyone to ever say that they arrive at this point of always feeling enough. You don't. But I think that's where we have to rely on God. Like that's the reason why Jesus is here. That's the reason why he died, because he's the only thing that can fill that, right? So now in my life, do I feel like I'm enough? I don't know if it's always a feeling, but I think there are more days than not. But it's not because of me. I feel like I'm enough because of him. And I'm grateful for that, because it means that I don't have to rely on myself in order to be enough. And I think that's a great thing, to know that I can rely on him in that way, to know that he sees me as that, and that I don't have to go adding things on to try to facilitate me being enough, or try to plug up these holes that are there, or try to falsely fill these. I don't have to do any of that in order to do so. So I don't think that there's ever an arrival point, but I do think that there is a place where you can come to a point of being honest with yourself to say, it is okay for me to say this. It is okay for me to speak these words over me, because this is the thing, he speaks these words over you all the time. I've never known a time for God to ever look at any of his children and say, you're not enough.